Hello, I'm Senator Clarence Lamb, and thank you for watching this video covering Week 4 of the 2020 legislative session. This week, the legislature welcomed Governor Hogan for the annual State of the State address. The speech, held in the chamber of the House of Delegates and attended by county leaders, cabinet members, and other dignitaries, is an opportunity for the governor to update the legislature and the public on the status of state affairs and to present his legislative goals for the session. This year's State of the State speech was historic, with two new presiding officers, Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson, seated behind the governor during this occasion. Earlier this week, I joined the Senate President, Speaker, and other senators and delegates in supporting a comprehensive set of crime prevention and reduction legislation. These bills will be aimed at addressing the rising rates of gun and violent crimes in Baltimore and include measures to do the following. 1. Increase penalties for witness intimidation. 2. Conduct a statewide audit of gun crimes to target resources and increase support for gun violence prevention. 3. Increase penalties for those who fail to report lost or stolen guns. And 4. Create a regional approach to crime fighting so that state and local resources are pulled together and include reentry support for ex-offenders so that they do not fall back into committing crimes. We believe these policies are a good first start at tackling crime and preventing further violence. One issue that I've been working on for the past several years has generated a lot of recent media attention. A few years ago, when I served on the House Appropriations Committee, I raised a concern about reports that I'd heard of children under the care of the state who've been left abandoned at psychiatric hospitals. These cases often would occur when children were removed from their families, temporarily placed into hospitals or psychiatric units by the state, but then left there for days or weeks without placement in foster or group homes. In fact, one child was reportedly left in a hospital for 363 days by the Maryland Department of Human Services. I found it shameful that these children would be housed in hospitals at a huge cost to taxpayers when they didn't need to be there, and that their discharges from these hospitals were delayed while the state worked at glacial pace. A piece in this week's Baltimore Sun highlighted the continuing cases of bureaucratic limbo for these children, and I'm hopeful that this has now attracted enough attention that the responsible state agencies will finally do something about it. Now let's cover some bills I worked on this week. In an effort to make it easier for candidates to run for the school board, I've reintroduced a bill this year that will enable local counties to include Board of Education races in public campaign financing programs. Several years ago, the General Assembly passed legislation that allowed local counties to set up public campaign financing systems to allow for matching funds for small dollar contributions for county executive and council races. This decision to establish such a program is entirely optional, not a requirement, but several counties have already chosen to create public campaign financing systems. SB 289 would allow counties to also include school board candidates in races that would qualify for public financing if the local county decides to do so. One bill I'm proud to be sponsoring is the Student Voter Empowerment Act of 2020, or SB 647. Student registration and participation in elections is significantly lower than in other age groups, with data from 2014 showing that nationally only 19% of all college-age students had turned out to vote. SB 647, which I'm sponsoring with Delegate Eric Lukey, will require medium and large-sized college campuses to identify a student voter coordinator, colleges to create a voter engagement plan, and to establish on-campus voting locations. Delegate Lukey's bill had a hearing before the House on Ways and Means Committee this week, and my Senate cross-file bill has a hearing planned for 2 weeks from now. In the Howard County Delegation's work session this week, we voted favorably on several bills, including one that will enable the County Council to increase the transfer tax. If passed by the General Assembly, HB 1454 will authorize the County Council to increase the transfer tax with part of the additional funding to be used to further support Howard County Public Schools. As the only physician in the Senate, I've been getting a lot of questions about the growing coronavirus outbreak in China. Here in Maryland, this time of year is typically busy in the Asian American community, with many Lunar New Year events throughout the state. But nearly all of these have been canceled this year due to the coronavirus epidemic. Although there have been no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Maryland as of now, these events were canceled out of an abundance of caution because there are many travelers that fly between China and the U.S. during this time of year. Several media outlets contacted me about these cancellations, which I agree are prudent because there is much that we do not understand about the virus, but I think it's also important to put this epidemic in context in order to allay the growing fears of the public. As of this week, the virus has infected about 40,000 worldwide, resulting in almost 1,000 deaths. By comparison, the annual influenza virus infects up to 5 million people around the world each year and results in 500,000 deaths each year. If you're anxious about the coronavirus, please don't panic. You're far more likely to contract the flu than the coronavirus, another reason to get your annual flu shot. This past weekend, I attended a few local community events, including a public forum organized by students at River Hill High School discussing education policies and community issues with other elected officials of color. In Baltimore County, I attended the Arbutus Volunteer Fire Department's annual installation of officers and awards ceremony, where we recognized those firefighters and auxiliary members who reached important milestones and service achievements. Finally, the week kicked off with the swearing in of a new Baltimore County colleague in the Senate. Delegate Shelley Heddleman was sworn in as the new senator representing District 11 of Northwest Baltimore County. With the addition of now Senator Heddleman, the Senate of Maryland stands at a full complement of 47 senators and no outstanding vacancies. And that's a wrap for this video update covering week 4 of the 2020 legislative session. If you found this video to be informative, I hope you'll like our Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified of future video updates. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll check back next week.